The 2024 election was historic for several reasons. Among them, the first openly transgender person was elected to the United States Congress. She joins us now from the state she will be representing, Delaware. Democratic Representative-elect Sarah McBride, welcome to Face the Nation.
Thank you for having me, Margaret.
You know, it's interesting given how polarized, how angry and divided this country is, that people choose to serve and to run. You told my colleague Scott McFarland that it was your personal experience as a caregiver for your husband during his bout with terminal cancer that inspired you to run. Do you expect that health care policy will be the focus of your work here?
Well, I certainly am glad to be back here in Delaware after 2 weeks of orientation and to have the privilege of serving this state that I love in Congress. I ran to bring down costs facing workers, retirees, and their families. That means bringing down the cost of health care, but also housing and child care and everyday expenses like gas and groceries. I did run for office after my experience as a caregiver to my husband, Andy, during his battle with cancer. And throughout that experience, while Andy ultimately lost his life, we both knew how lucky we were. We knew how lucky Andy was to have health insurance that would allow him to get care that would hopefully save his life. And we both knew how lucky we were to have flexibility with our employers that allowed Andy to focus on the full-time job of getting care and me to focus on the full-time job of being there by his side to care for him, to love him, to marry him, and to walk him to his passing. And I ran for office because I do not believe that in the wealthiest, most developed nation on earth, that time and that ability to get care should be a matter of luck. I believe it should be the law of the land, and it's why during my time in the Delaware General Assembly, I passed paid family and medical leave and secured the largest investment in our state's Medicaid program. And I want to do that work in Congress on health care, but also on housing and child care.
Paid leave is something that Mr. Trump has paid lip service to. We'll see in the new Congress if it comes up. We see in our CBS polling that 86% of voters feel congressional Democrats should find common ground with Mr. Trump and Republicans. Do you feel you can?
Well, I said throughout this campaign that I will work with anyone who's willing to work with me to help Delawareans, to lower costs facing my constituents. There are opportunities for us to find common ground, but it's also clear that this administration, as it begins to fill its appointments with Project 2025 authors, that a lot of the policies that this president will pursue will likely hurt my constituents and raise prices. And so where I need to fight back, I will, but where I can find common ground, I will certainly seek it. That's what I've done during my time in the General Assembly, where nearly every bill I passed with bipartisan support.
As you mentioned, you were here for orientation. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, was asked about you coming to work and some objections by a female South Carolina Republican representative regarding what bathroom you'd be able to use. Here's what the speaker said.
A man is a man and a woman is a woman, and a man cannot become a woman. That said, I also believe, that's what Scripture teaches, what I just said, but I also believe that we treat everybody with dignity.
Do you believe that you are being treated with dignity by your colleagues?
I didn't run for the United States House of Representatives to talk about what bathroom I use. I didn't run to talk about myself. I ran to deliver for Delawareans. And while Republicans in Congress seem focused on bathrooms and trans people, and specifically me, I'm focused on rolling up my sleeves, diving into the details, setting up my office, and beginning the hard work of delivering for Delawareans on the issues that I know keep them up at night. And I look forward to working with any colleague who's ready to work and ready to be serious about the issues that matter, because at the end of the day, how I'm being treated does not matter. What matters is how the American people are being treated and whether we're actually focused on the issues that matter to them.
Well, some of your fellow congressional Democrats, including Tom Suozzi and Seth Moulton, have also recently spoken about their feelings looking back at the last election and said Democrats should be more open about saying whether they object to transgender athletes playing in girls' sports. Those were the specific examples they brought up. How would you respond to your soon-to-be Democratic colleagues on those? Do you understand why some parents, for example, feel uncomfortable or frustrated?
Look, I think this country is still entering into a conversation about who trans people are, the full diversity of the community. And I've had conversations with colleagues in the Democratic caucus already that span diversity of thought about how the party should engage on a whole host of issues. But I think we are all united that every single American deserves equal rights. I think we are all united that attempts to attack a vulnerable community are not only mean-spirited, but really an attempt to misdirect. Because every single time we hear the incoming administration or Republicans in Congress talk about any vulnerable group in this country, we have to be clear that it is an attempt to distract. It is an attempt to distract from what they are actually doing. Every single time we hear them say the word trans, look what they're doing with their right hand. Look at what they're doing to pick the pocket of American workers, to fleece seniors by privatizing Social Security and Medicare. Look what they're doing undermining workers. And here's also what we have to be clear about, because I think the last week has been a prime example of this. Every bit of time and energy that is used to divert the attention of the federal government to go after trans people is time and energy that is not focused on addressing the cost of living for our constituents. And we have to be clear that there is a real cost for the American worker every time they focus on this.
All right. Congresswoman-elect, I'm sure we'll be seeing you here in Washington. We'll be right back.